Hello, everyone. I'm Brande Roderick, and you are watching Sidewalks Entertainment Television.
Hi, I'm Cindy Rhodes, and coming up today on Sidewalks, we have an interview with actress, model, and producer Brande Roderick. And it's all straight ahead right here on Sidewalks. If you've ever watched Baywatch Hawaii, The Nanny Diaries, Celebrity Apprentice All Stars, or the movie Starsky and Hutch, you probably already know our guest today. I am excited to welcome Brande Roderick to Sidewalks Entertainment. Hey, Brande, thanks so much for being with us today.
Hi, thanks for having me. Good to be here.
So, as a kid growing up in Novato, California, Hollywood must have seemed like a million miles away. Tell me a little bit about how you got your start as an actor.
Well, I actually, at the ripe old age of, I think, 22 or 23, realized that if I'm going to go and do it and follow my dreams, I better hurry up and go. So I packed up a U-Haul and went straight to LA and slept on my friend's couch for the first month, borrowed his car to go to auditions, and really started from scratch. Um, and my very first acting role was on 90210. And that was my very first speaking role. And it just kind of went up from there and just continued. Yeah, with all the roles.
And so now, do you have a favorite role that you've gotten to play so far?
Well, I've had so many fun roles, but my favorite job was definitely being on Baywatch. Because when I was on Baywatch, the last 2 years, Baywatch was filmed in Hawaii. So I was lucky enough to be a part of that. Living there, warm sand, warm beaches, beautiful people, just having so much fun. It was definitely the best job ever.
Well, and I'll tell you what, that is a tough gig living and working in Hawaii. I know you played the
Right?
role of Lee Dyer opposite Jason Momoa. What did
Yeah.
you especially love about this character?
You know what? She was a very strong character. She was the head lifeguard in charge of all the junior lifeguards. And she really was kind of before her time, I guess, because it was just it was nice having just Baywatch showing a very strong female role and being able to take charge and showing kind of that side of a strong, powerful woman. And I loved being able to play that role. That was a lot of fun.
Are there some favorite memories of your time on the island and with the cast?
Um, it was always fun. But what was created because we were all living on this private island, right? You can't really get off an island. We all became very close friends. It was like a close-knit family. So in between, takes, we would all go back to, someone's trailer and we'd lay around and watch, movies and eat all kinds of food that, whatever we wanted off the food truck, which was always, kind of fun. And it just became this really fun family dynamic and atmosphere. And we all just had a really good time just horsing around being kids. We were all in our 20s just having fun.
Such a great time of your life to be able to
Yeah.
experience this, right?
Yeah, it was a dream. It really was a real dream.
Do you keep in touch with any of the other cast members?
Oh yeah. I mean, they're some of my best friends. I was just with Alicia Richter a couple weeks ago on vacation. Yeah, we're all very close. And then not just even the Baywatch Hawaii crew. I've become, really close friends with the rest of the cast members throughout the years because we all go around and do all of these Baywatch reunion conventions where we sign autographs. So we've all, it's kind of like a sorority, I guess, even though they were on different seasons, we all become very good friends.
Now, what does it mean to you to be part of such an iconic franchise?
It's really quite magical, to be honest. It was the number one watch show in the world, right? So to be a part of something so huge I feel really blessed to have been a part of it because it continues, right? It actually I'm still continuing to do things because of Baywatch, which is pretty awesome.
You have been a contestant on a few reality shows as well, most notably Celebrity Apprentice and Celebrity Apprentice All Stars, and have done really well. What is your secret sauce?
Oh gosh. Well, I always tell people do what other people won't do. If a door closes, find a window to crawl through. I'm always the one, I will always work harder than someone else, or at least I think I'm working harder than someone else. For example, like with the Celebrity Apprentice, as soon as I found out I was going on it, I made sure I watched every single episode of all the seasons because I wanted to see exactly what I was up against. And I put together this big portfolio of everyone that I could call upon for favors. And I categorized it for whatever the favor might be from just watching all the shows. Like if I needed to find a printer last minute, I had that connection in my Rolodex here. If I needed to find a chef to help me create something, I had Guy Fieri, on call. So I just made sure and I put the extra effort, and I guarantee you no one else did that on the show. So I always go the extra mile no matter what I'm doing to make sure that I'm going to succeed in whatever that venture is.
Well, now, was there a challenge that you won that was especially memorable to you, and why?
Um, I think that one that was there was a few of them. But one that I think was memorable was the cupcake challenge. And we did win that challenge. I was raising money for charity, and we had to make cupcakes and sell them. And I had us go down in front of the Playboy building back when there was a Playboy building in New York City. And we had Playboy bunnies come down, the corporate offices came down, wrote a check. Hugh Hefner called in, wrote a check. And it's just it's kind of memorable and fun because Hugh Hefner unfortunately is no longer with us anymore. And the Playboy offices are no longer there. So I feel like it was kind of, we got in before the end of an era, and it's just kind of a memorable, fun thing that I got to experience before. And of course, and we won that challenge.
That's amazing. Now, I'd like to talk a little bit about Playboy. Not only were you a Playmate of the Month, but you also earned the Playmate of the Year title, which is a really big deal in this industry.
Yeah.
What was your reaction when you found out the news, and what did the title mean to you both personally and professionally?
Well, when I got the call when I was already back home from shooting Baywatch, and I was living with Stacey Comano, who was my co-star on Baywatch, and I got the call from Marilyn Grabowski, the editor, and she said, "How would you like to be Playmate of the Year?" And I just started screaming, jumping up and down. I was so excited, and I ran into Stacey, and we were jumping up and down, all excited. And I it was definitely quite an honor, but I didn't really realize it until Stacy said, "Brandy, you're going to be one of 60 women." And I was like, "What? There's only been 60, one of 60." Like it was just such a cool thing to think of. And I got to travel the world because of being Playmate of the Year. We went around and did promotions at different places. I got to go to Japan. I got to
Wow.
go to San Tropez. I got to go to St. Bart's, all these wonderful, exciting places and opportunities I would not have, had otherwise. And that's probably between that and, of course, Baywatch, why I even got on the Celebrity Apprentice. So I feel like, each job and milestone has created to something else, and Playboy was the one that started it all.
For sure. Now, some time has passed since then. How do you define beauty and confidence today?
Well, I think that beauty and confidence, and I've always thought this comes from within, right? If you're
Yes.
confident, there's just something about a confident woman or man for that matter. Me being a woman, I'm attracted to a man that's confident, and I don't really care about what he looks like. It's about something that you exude out of you, right? And I think that if you feel good from the inside, whatever that means to you, how you're making yourself feel good, it's going to shine, from the outside. So I think you got to start from within and build that up, and then it's just going to shine out.
You are the executive producer, director, co-writer of the horror film Wineville. I'm really excited to talk to you about it. Why don't you
Yeah.
why don't you tell us what this film is about?
Oh gosh. Well, I will definitely say this film is not for the faint at heart. It is
I
a
can agree
horror
with that.
thriller. It was based in 1978, and I got that wanted that kind of feel of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. My character Tess ran away from home at a very young age because of some horrific things that were happening in her past. And she gets a call as an adult. Now she has her own 11-year-old son that her father had passed away. So she had to come back to the family winery and vineyard to take care of business. But now that she's back, things have only blackened and festered and gotten even worse since she's been gone. And now not only does she have to try to escape just herself, now she has to try to save her son as well. So will they survive? Will they come out of it alive? You'll have to watch it.
Well, and your son, your real life son, actually plays your on-screen son, Walter. What was it like working together?
That was the best part for me, honestly, being able to do that and work with my son. And it actually made my job easier, right? Because I'm acting with my real son. So it really wasn't a huge stretch. And, we will both always be able to have that and take that with us. And so for me, it was great. And we had worked together before. We did actually a Christmas movie together, believe it or not, called Ace and the Christmas Miracle. So it went from Christmas movie to horror film. But we had a blast. It was so great working with him.
Now, he was pretty young, I think, when he did this film. Were you at
Yeah.
all concerned about his discipline and whether he could stay focused, or was that a not a mom worry?
No, no, that didn't concern me at all because we had worked together before when he was a lot younger and he held his own there. Plus, I had a wonderful acting coach for he and I, Sandy Marshall, who I'd been working with for 20 years. So she worked with him prior to going to set. So he was already kind of well prepared before we went. The only thing that I was worried about is that here we are making this film, and my son, he was 12 at the time, either 11 or 12, I think 12 when we finally shot it. I was like, I'm making this film and he can't even watch it. It's all
I
that,
can
the
imagine that would have been a
crazy.
little bit of like, oh my gosh, like, how are we going to do
Yes,
this? But
I know it was crazy, but it just so happened it took us so long from start to finish to finally get the movie out there that he was able to watch it. So now he's seen it and he would got to go to the premiere and watch the film. However, he did walk out during one certain part and then came back in.
well, it's good he's taking care of himself, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Well, the
Yeah.
location was really atmospheric. Where was this film shot? It was a winery.
Yes,
But
it
where
was
where
shot.
was this?
It was shot at the name of the real winery is Galliano Winery, and it's in Mira Loma, and it is the oldest winery in Southern California, if not, well, it's either the oldest or one of the oldest wineries, and it was built in the 20s. So it's really cool to have been have that location as our backdrop because it already had all the old equipment, creepy stuff going on. So it really lent itself for the perfect backdrop for Wineville.
Well, being the producer, writer, and director must have been really intense. What were some of the challenges in balancing all of these responsibilities?
It was very difficult. The the good thing is that I made sure to prepare on the acting side before even setting foot on set. So I already kind of had that prepared because when you're on set as a producer, you're getting pulled in a million different directions nonstop. From day one, showing up, found out that our set costumer, she had COVID. So we had to scramble to get someone there very last minute. And this is a period piece film, so it's not like you can just run down to the mall and get stuff, right?
Yeah.
So we had to scramble to do that. There was a day when our set designer sprayed spray paint in her eyes. So we had to get her to, the emergency with this happening.
Yikes.
There was another day where SAG had us call in and do a Zoom right in the middle of a scene. We had to stop everything because SAG is, they rule everything. The Screen Actors Guild. So had to do, so there was constantly stuff happening that you just have to, navigate and get through. But for me, it was just, I didn't care. I loved it so much. I loved every adventure, every challenge, and I can't wait to do it again.
There were a lot of twists and turns and kind of an unexpected ending. Would you ever
Yes.
consider writing a sequel?
Ooh, I have been asked this question, but I think that what would be more fun is doing a prequel,
Yeah.
because I love, the idea of kind of period pieces, and then that would put us back, since we already in the film, as you know, we did flashbacks, right, to her
Yes.
childhood. And I think it would be more fun to do something that could have been, in the 40s or 50s, because again, we have that backdrop. It already was built in the 20s, and I think that going backwards would be more fun, and just really explaining why this family is so screwed up and where it happened and why.
Exploring the history of like the sister and your
The
on-screen
grandfather, yes,
father and like
father.
why they became so messed up.
Exactly, and what their parents were like that really screwed them up.
Yeah. Where did your love of the horror genre come from?
That came from my mother. My mother is huge into horror, Halloween, all the things. So much so that she had me watch The Exorcist at 6 years old with her.
Oh my
Um,
gosh, Brandy!
so I know, right? Like,
I don't
who
think
does
I
that
could
to
watch
their
that even
children?
today. Holy
I
smokes.
know, so crazy. And then my dad was nuts. He would always do crazy things. Like when we were kids, we watched the movie Rabid. I think that was in like we watched it probably in the early 80s, but it was a late 70s film, where they all were zombies. So after watching that movie, I went to go down the hall to go to the bathroom. I come out and someone is laying on the ground, grabs my leg, foam coming out of their mouth, starts biting my ankle. It was my dad. He had put toothpaste in his mouth and pretend to be Rabid, one of these zombies. So, they did stuff like that to us kids all the time. We watched horror movies. We always dressed up together. During Halloween, like my mom would make our costumes. She'd go all out. So it was in my family from a very young age. So it's just,
Yeah.
I love it too. And I do it with my kids now too.
Now, do you have a favorite horror film yourself?
Oh gosh. Well, I always go back to Texas Chainsaw Massacre, because the time when I saw it was just at that age where it was just so much fun. And I love that 70s vibe horror film. Yeah.
Well, to change topics just a little bit, you have
Sure.
authored a book called Bounce, Don't Break, Brandy's Guide to Life, Love, and Success. How did
Yeah.
this book come about and what inspired you to write it?
Well, when I was at Playboy, or during Playboy years, I always had all the girls come and ask me for advice, and they'd always come to me. I was kind of like the mother hen, because I was actually an older Playmate, I was older than most of the girls, and had that experience. So I just thought, you know what? Everyone's always asking me this advice. It'd been many years. Why not write a book now and tell my story, and not just like tell the stuff that was good and what works, but tell the mistakes and stuff I did to hopefully help detour people from making certain mistakes, and help them to know what actually, works.
Yeah.
So I decided to go ahead and write the book, and I'm so glad that I did. It was such a wonderful experience. And then Playboy, what they ended up doing, which was totally unexpected, which was really cool, they called and they ordered and bought a bunch of books, and from every new Playmate from that point on got my book. So that was quite an honor, and it was pretty cool to have that
That's
happen.
amazing.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
that shows such value in your experience and life
yeah,
and the fact that they thought they could help others through your experience. I think that
yeah,
is absolutely amazing.
yeah.
You
I
know,
thought that's great.
one of the things that I have been so excited to kind of learn, I've been doing a lot of research on you, to prepare for
Mm-hmm.
today. And you've always had the confidence and the courage to chase your dreams, high risk, high reward type of things.
Mm-hmm.
Where did that sense of self come from?
I feel really blessed and really lucky that it started with my mom. She really was someone that said, you can do anything you want, you just have to go out there, get it, work hard. My family's very much about like work hard and you can accomplish anything. So it really started with that example as a young child. But I followed it up with I am a self-help book queen. Like I read 2 books a month. And I say read, but I listen to them. I listen to books while I'm driving. I listen to books while I'm walking, all the time when I'm cooking. I am like a sponge, and I love knowledge and I love learning things. And a lot of the books in my younger years were kind of, confident self-help type of books. So I basically brainwashed myself to be very confident and really go after dreams. And I also think that knowledge is key. Knowledge gives us confidence. So I'm a very big believer in books. And even or if you're not into reading, watch YouTube videos or something, or watch documentaries, whatever it might be. Anything to help you with whatever it is you want to do, or even with yourself, like to build confidence.
Well, thank you so much for all of your time today, Brandy. As we close, what advice would you give to young women who would dare to dream big?
I would 100% say go and do what other people will not do. You have to do more than the average person. And like I had said before, if a door closes, find a window to crawl through, because don't take no for an answer. If you really want something, you have to go out and get it. You've got to learn every detail about it. And again, do all the things other people will not do.
I love that. That's amazing. Brandy, you're amazing. Thank you so much for being with us today on Sidewalks. It was such a pleasure.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
All
Hope
right.
you guys have a great day.
Thanks. I hope you do the same.